Hello, thanks for clicking on this video and joining us today for a special presentation from the GYG interns. Throughout the summer, we had an incredibly difficult challenge to try to adapt to the different changes that are going on due to the COVID-19 pandemic and shutdown that's been affecting our nation and specifically our local community. One of the things we knew for sure is that we wanted to provide a spiritually uplifting environment and spiritually minded and biblically focused lessons for our teenagers. On top of that, we wanted to offer them an opportunity to fellowship and grow closer to one another as they grew closer to God. I'm so grateful for the three amazing Christian young people that we had helping out with the Germantown youth group this year. So, because we normally, at the end of the summer, have an opportunity to hear from them, usually the male is able to give an evening lesson as well as talk about his experience that summer on a Sunday night before leaving us. And the young ladies, we started last year a tradition of having a question and answer session after our evening worship in the fellowship hall. Since we're not going to be able to do those things due to the change of circumstances and schedules, I wanted to give them an opportunity to speak to all of you, and so you could hear about what they've learned from their experience this summer. So without further ado, I introduce you to our interns for this summer, Hunter Haynes, Natalie Estes, and Jenna Vick.
I'll start. So when I was in the youth group, I always had amazing interns, and I always had a great summer and really got close with a lot of interns. So I guess the main reason I wanted to do it is I wanted to give back for all the interns that spent so much time on me, and I wanted to be able to do the same thing for this generation's youth group in Germantown.
Same thing for me, and so I am a special education major, and so being able to have a wide range of kids in the youth group, their ages, will benefit me so that I can get to know all their individual needs and things like that.
So when I was in the youth group, I had some really, really good times in the youth group, and then I also had some times that were not so great experiences, and that had to do with me just being a quiet kid and kind of a kid that liked to be on the outside, and I knew what a big impact leaders and adults can have on making sure that those kids feel included. And so it's always just kind of been a passion project of mine, is like making sure that as I'm sending off the youth group and this kind of finally being my last thing with it, making sure I'm leaving that mark and sending us off in a good direction.
Something that was the same was we still had tags and FNSs. Yes, they looked different, but overall they were the same thing. It was great.
I expected the kids to be some funny little goobers that were just gonna charm our pants off, and I was not disappointed. They were wonderful, and even though we didn't get to go on like trips with them overnight and do as much stuff, we still very much got to see those personalities, and I loved that.
Yeah, the kids were awesome, like Natalie said, and I was expecting to come in and make great relationships with all the kids, and I was definitely able to do that. I didn't have as much time as I would have liked with the kids, like trips and whatnot, but I was still able to make great relationships and have one-on-one time with kids.
We didn't leave Germantown. I was fully anticipating to be going like all over the place this summer, and like thought we were gonna have to drive the church buses, and then lo and behold, we did not leave. We didn't do an activity off of campus, so that was wild.
I would say what was different was a lot of the criteria of this summer. We had to get things approved. I mean, you have to get it approved every year, but you know what I mean. And yeah, we didn't go on very many trips. I was really looking forward to that, but I was not disappointed.
Yeah, so normally we come in, or the interns come in, and Joshua has pretty much everything planned out for us, for the most part, because he's as good as he is. But this summer, we had to help him a little bit and adapt to, like Jen was talking about, the circumstances that we were given, and we kind of had to be creative in what we did. And I wasn't expecting that, but it was a great part of the summer that I enjoyed doing.
In some ways, it was really difficult, but I don't want to focus on that. I think that it also gave us a big opportunity because the age group spans from 7th grade to 12th grade, and there's a lot of different things that kids are experiencing, and a 7th grader's experience will be wildly different from a senior in high school. But I think one thing that they all had in common and that we had in common was just dealing with this and having kind of the exact same worries and being able to talk about that, and how do we deal with that in a Christian way, and how does that bring us closer to God?
Yeah, I think it's easy to look at the negatives of this summer, but a huge positive that I noticed was since we didn't have as many youth group events and we weren't going to in-person church, a lot of the kids were really craving it. So when they did come to our events, they were fully there, and they were very enthusiastic, and they loved to be there. And I thought that was very beneficial for us because it made our job a lot easier, being able to connect with the kids and being able to talk to them about different stuff.
Yeah, I would also add that even though we weren't able to do the things that we normally do, we were still able to reach out to through the kids through ding dong ditching and just doing weird things like that to let them know that they're still appreciated. For me, it was trying to develop like a very meaningful relationship with as many people as I possibly could, because you can only get so far over text, and with parents or children just like not being able to come for health reasons or other reasons, it was really hard to do that.
I think at the beginning of the summer, I was struggling a lot with my own personal mindset and just dealing with like, I was so stressed out and bummed out about the summer, then like, how was I going to act like I was excited for the kids? But then by the time we actually had our first in-person activity, and we had we were expecting anywhere from like 5 to 15 kids, and we had 30 kids show up, and it was suddenly like, oh, we need more food, what are we gonna do, whatever, and we had a ball. And I don't know, like, it helped me to be with the kids more than I thought I was gonna have to like put on a brave face and help them.
Yeah, I would say the most difficult thing for me was just continually encouraging the kids, because the kids, as amazing as they were, it was difficult to keep them motivated during these times, and I felt that was a big challenge, not just for me, but us as a ministry. I kind of talked about earlier how we had to adapt to everything that was given, and that sparked the creativity in all of us, and I thought that was super cool because every time we had to come up with an idea for something new, we would have to make different viewpoints of every game, every event we had, and we had to be able to adapt it to whatever the CDC said or whatever was going on in Memphis at that time. And so we got some really crazy fun ideas out of this summer just because of the aspects that were coming at us.
I would say for me, when we did like one of our first in-person FNSs, we did a giant water slide, and I was in charge of the hose at the very top and re-soaping and stuff, and just to see those kids, just belly flop down down the tarp, and then I just had the hose, so like I had to soak them, and so I just think that was the best.
I think for me, my favorite part was actually on the Wednesday night Zoom calls, and it was because, I've done GYG Wednesday nights my whole life, and usually we're all sitting together, and there's always great discussion, but there are always those kids that don't talk as much, and you don't really hear what they think. And the Zoom call gave us the opportunity to do breakout rooms where each of us would have like 4 or 5 kids, and I got to hear from kids that I had never heard from before, and they had awesome stuff to say, and it was so wonderful that I got to experience every single one of the kids and how they were feeling and what their thoughts were on different things.
I would say that it is hard. You have to be able to answer all the parents' questions, all the kids' questions, all of the elders and deacons' questions, and plan an event. So I would say it's very difficult.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of background planning involved that I, as a kid in the youth group, never saw. Maybe a little bit at the end, but not to the extent that we actually had to do. And one thing I really noticed was how encouraging it was to be with the kids, and all the amount of time that we put into the kids, we get exactly that amount back because they're so excited for the stuff we do. And they just make me just as happy as I was when I started this job because they were so encouraging about everything.
I know that being a teenager was not my favorite thing when I was a teenager, but now, like, being able to be removed from it and come back and be working with all of the age groups at once, like, being a teenager is just a completely different world than what any adult is going through because there's just so much happening and they need such a different kind of support and love and guidance. And, like, it is harder, but I think you have so much more potential to have an impact than I even realized during that age.
Firstly, to the elders and Joshua, I just love to thank you for this job. It's been a dream of mine for a long time to be able to come back and be the intern for my church, and it was truly everything I expected and more. Like Natalie said, I got a lot out of it. Even though I was expecting to give a lot, I got more than I expected. And to anyone asking, or anyone watching this video, if you have any questions, please ask me. I would love to tell you about this summer and the wonderful kids and the amazing church that Germantown is. I could talk for hours about it. Just ask me and I will go on and on and on about this church and this wonderful place that God's given me.
I also want to thank the elders and Joshua for this job.
Yeah, me too.
This summer was unforgettable. It had a huge impact on me, and I don't know, it was a really, really good way to get to kind of wrap up my experience in the youth group and felt like I was really leaving an impact and moving forward.
I'm glad you chose the three of us to be your interns this summer. They're great. Everyone was great to work with. So yeah, thank you.
The theme that we picked for Girls Retreat was faith over fear, and I picked that because I thought it would be something that the kids needed to hear, and then it turned out to be one of those things that, like, I really needed to hear. And I think that that's something that just all of us, as we're going into schools and, like, we don't know what the future looks like, just having faith over fear and really, really focusing on that. And that's kind of my mantra going into college or whatever. Yeah.
You know, there was so much that I learned throughout this experience, both with quarantine in general from late March all the way through the summer and just a few days ago. I'm constantly being surprised by how good God is. And honestly, I'm ashamed to say that. As a youth minister, as a Christian, it shouldn't surprise me all that God is doing, even in the midst of my plans, my ideas, and my vision of the future being altered. But God is good. And He's blessed us with 3 amazing interns and an amazing youth group. And even though the summer didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, I am incredibly proud of what we've been able to accomplish, the relationships we're able to build on and work through, and the lessons and the time that we've been able to spend together in God's Word. Know that these 3 amazing individuals love you and love this church an awful lot. My prayer is that this pandemic leave as quickly as it came, and that we're able to get back into some sort of normal groove. But as we move forward, things may never be the same. And I'm so grateful to be at a congregation that's allowing God to work, even in ways we don't understand. Thank you so much for your support of the Germantown Youth Group. Thank you so much for your support of this ministry, for watching this video. And know that if you're a part of this church family, you have an awful lot to be proud of. Have a wonderful day. God bless.